Hello guys, welcome to a new episode of Dwarf Talks. Today I want to talk to you about how we design here at Dwarf and the process we use for it. There's probably many different ways that you'll see in different companies, but this is what we are using. And it's also adapting here and there, but this is the method that we've been using for several years. And I'm gonna show you a bit about that structure. So usually we work with problems or things that we want to achieve. So for instance, now that we are more live with the game and we're doing testing and so on, we are discovering problems that we want to address. In this particular case, we have a problem with tension. I'm just going to read this loud. This is one of the problem statements we have, where players are not feeling enough tension from moving around and playing in the mission. This is problematic because we feel the best way to deliver on the TA need of excitement in loot and extract game is through tension, like we see it in Tarkov or Dark and Darker or other games. So here we have our problem that we basically want to solve. It's good to spend a lot of time carving out your problem as precisely as possible, because this will reduce the risk that you are coming up with a solution for a problem that actually wasn't the problem because you didn't describe the problem clearly enough. So here basically the problem is that you are not feeling enough tension, and then we make hypotheses. What we usually use are APIs. These are short for as a player I, and then we make these API trees. You can see it forms out as a tree. And sometimes it starts off with multiple branches, or it just has one. In this case, we have like one super API that we want to solve for that then divides into smaller sub ones. But this one is the key one that we want to solve. As a player, I am scared of being surprise attacked when moving around in the game. So I feel tension most of the time from that fear. This is basically an outcome that we want to achieve. Basically, we want to be able to do a test, ask you this question, and then either get a yes or no, or for instance, a 7 or 8 plus on a score, something like that, that indicates we're getting this outcome when you're playing the game. So then we may subdivide that into smaller hypotheses of what we want to achieve. And here's an example. As a player, I get information about another player, such as from a one-way see-through. This could be a bush, because in bushes you can be in the bush, look out without the other player being able to see you, unless it's warded, for instance. So we want more of that, so that this also means that or knowing that they are there from a ward. So in 50% or more of my matches, I experience seeing others while they're not seeing me, so I get thrilled, either from getting close enough to ambush or nearly getting caught, because sometimes you're hiding because you're in a fragile position, such as very low health, and this is basically providing tension. And for what we want to achieve in the game, tension is what we want. So then we come down to how can we solve this? How can we achieve this outcome? And then there's some cornerstones of how we can do that, explained with these orange post-its. Example is improve player options for hiding. And then there's a lot of lines that could achieve this. And if we achieve that, we assume that we get progress on achieving that players get more one-way see-through options. So an example would be, we have a lot of indoor areas where there's no tall grass, no see-through options. So we could add that, for instance. That is one example. We have also talked about that our level design is maybe a little bit too open, and there's not a lot of edgy corners to hide in, and we could add more of that so that you could hide in the fog of war. There's a lot of other things. There's also, like, for instance, the fog of war in the game is not so clearly displayed. It is not as dark as in League of Legends, for instance, so sometimes it makes it a little unclear when you're hidden or not, and therefore we don't get enough of a sense that you're actually hiding, or the player doesn't know when it's happening. So I won't go into detail with everything, of course. I just wanted to give you a glimpse of how do we approach problems and outcomes and design in general. So generally, most of our design goes through a process like this, and then we validate either internally or an external test or something like that, whether we feel that we have achieved the outcome. So you might recognize some of these API-like questions in the upcoming questionnaire and test for especially the WASP test that we are doing. Sometimes there's a great interest in the ins and outs of how a game company works. It's of course very different from company to company, but happy to share how we are working with things here at Beta Dwarf. Doodly doodly doo.